is a place of training for the children. Now, coming to Hannah, the Samuel's mother, Hannah was a sad woman trapped in a difficult marriage. Hannah is frustrated because she has not yet become a mother. We all know this. In bitterness of soul, she wept in anguish. Yes, Hannah did the right thing. In her bitterness of soul and tears of anguish, she prayed to the Lord, to the covenant God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. She prayed honestly and humbly, pouring out her heart to the Lord. And as she prayed, she made a vow. If God gave her a child, then she would dedicate the child unto the Lord for his work. Here, we see Hannah took already what belonged to God. She gave it to him again and again in a greater way for the whole life. We may be dedicated unto the Lord, but it is possible to give God in a greater dedication. Hannah can easily say, I have already dedicated my son to the Lord because he is already dedicated. But there is a deeper dedication. There is a deeper dedication in Hannah. We should draw out of deeper dedication to draw out of Hannah and also from us. We also see how important it is for us to dedicate our children to God. Now, they belong to Him, of course. Yet, it is important for us to constantly give our children back to God, who gave them to us. We should do this when they are young, and we should ensure and continue to do as they grow older. We do it in prayer, sometimes in bitterness of soul, tears of anguish, as Hannah experienced right here. Or we can also dedicate our children to God again and again, recognizing His ownership over him. Desperate and passionate prayers. Dear church, we seek blessings and fulfillment from a compassionate and a sovereign God. We should make prayer our priority, our first priority, in fact. Yes, dear church, assurance of a seed of blessing transforms bitterness into joy. We see the faith in Hannah. When we think God does not listen to our prayers, we need to think of Hannah. She's a woman who is committed to prayer. In the Bible, the important role that a mother plays in shaping her children's beliefs, both spiritually and morally, are very well documented. What do we learn from Hannah's prayer? Firstly, she knew God and His character. So we should know God thoroughly, and we should know His character too. Secondly, we see Hannah seeks the Lord humbly and honestly. Finally, she demonstrates her faith through obedience. Yes, my dear church, we have children and they are very precious to us. No matter what their age is, dedicate them to God again and again and see what good things God can do through the act of dedication. Now, coming to the gospel lesson, it is St. Mark chapter 10, verses 13 to 16. In this passage, we see how Jesus is interpreting and appreciating children. One day, some parents brought their children to Jesus so he could touch them and bless them. But the disciples scolded the parents for bothering him. When Jesus noticed this, he was angry and rather upset and said to the disciples, do not stop them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Here we can see how valuable and precious children are to Jesus. Jesus says in Mark chapter 9, verse 37, if you receive children in my name, you are receiving me, that is Jesus. What is in children that Jesus is comparing in such a great way? It is innocence, just innocence. We find parents in involvement in bringing their children to Jesus. These parents believed in Jesus and had faith that their children will be blessed. Faith is one of the fruits of Spirit. We should teach our children to have faith in God and whatever we do. So, in all this, we find the role of parents to be very important for the children to be blessed. According to Psalms chapter 4, 34, 11th verse, it says, when children come to the Lord, they learn fear of the God. David learned to acknowledge the Lord in all things. And finally, he became a wise parent, for he took time to teach his children and his children's children that the fear of the Lord is indeed the beginning of wisdom and understanding. What's the outcome of fear of the Lord? According to Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10, it says, wisdom begins there. Wisdom begins. And according to Proverbs chapter 10, 27th verse, it is long life. Every parent's desire is that their children should be blessed with wisdom and long life. This desire of the parents can only be received when their children are brought into the presence of God. Verse 14 to 15 says, for such children is the kingdom of God. What a divine statement this is. Why is Jesus saying this? What do we find in children for them to attract such a divine statement? It is because children are humble, innocent. In biblical terms, they are poor in spirit. According to Matthew 5:3, chapter 5, verse 3, it says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What do we mean by this? Only the poor in spirit enter the kingdom of God, and only those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be satisfied. Yes, Jesus says, those who long for such righteousness shall be satisfied. The gospel declares that God has promised to give his righteousness to all who return from their sin and trust in God. Finally, coming to the first verse 16,